Hello, pharmacy owners. Dr. Lisa Fost here, and I have one of those fun, exciting episodes for you today. We are talking about how you can increase your revenue with point of care testing. So here in the world of DiversifyRx, we have been knee deep in point of care testing since we launched our new point of care testing on demand course and our special 8-week coaching program with Dr. Kristen Talent. So a lot of our members have really been diving into point of care testing, and it seems like that's all we've been talking about. But currently right now we're at the end of September. October, November are just around the corner, which is when peak testing season starts. So we wanted to share some of our most popular resources and tools for you or with you so that you could help get your point of care testing going up in your pharmacy, even if you're not a member, because I firmly believe that every independent pharmacy should be testing. This is a service area that we should own. And so I want to help you be successful. So my guest with me today is Keval from DB Diagnostics. And that may not be a company you've heard of before. They've been around for a while, but the really cool thing that I'd like to mention is Keval is a pharmacy owner and a pharmacist, right, Keval?
Yes.
And so he can help you in ways that a lot of other companies that just resell testing kits can't. So Keval, thank you for spending some time with me and some time with our listeners. Go ahead and give yourself a proper introduction. I couldn't remember if you're a pharmacist or just a pharmacy owner, but go ahead and make sure it's clear.
Yeah, Lisa, thank you. Thank you for having us on the show. So a little bit about myself. I've been a pharmacist for over 10 years. Started onto the traditional path of joining the chain pharmacies and really wanted to be a part of the community and be able to do more for my community. And that's when I started the independent route. About 2 years ago, we started trading commodities with entities that we helped out in the community, with county entities. And just as the pandemic began, we were kind of teed up for the perfect position to offer these items from a wholesale standpoint. And that's when we created DB Diagnostics. Since then, we've deployed over 5 million diagnostics tests all across the US to laboratories, pharmacies, senior housing, and businesses all across the US. And we help pharmacies specifically from end to end to get their point of care testing program up and running, whether it's from an IT standpoint or from a supply standpoint. And we really just help you guys have a successful program, from A to Z. So, excited to be here and talk a little bit about some point of care products and how we can help your members out to have a successful point of care testing program.
Yeah, I love point of care testing. I've been doing point of care testing since about 2007 or 8. My first point of care test was a Cholestech LDX machine, which did
Yeah.
cholesterol and A1C. There wasn't obviously all the fancy ones we have nowadays. Nowadays, there are so many CLIA waived tests, and that's really what we're talking about here for point of care testing. And CLIA waived means that you as a pharmacy, once you apply for your CLIA waiver, which in most states is actually a really simple form that you just fill out, send in with a check, and boom, you're good to go. And some states add some layers of complexity. I'm calling out New York and Pennsylvania. They're pretty terrible, but most states have kept it to be pretty easy. And then now once you're CLIA waived, you get all this like world of testing opens up to you. And I'm just going to kind of go through and I'll some of the most common questions that I get, Keval, and we'll kind of see like what your response is. So first one I always get is like, how do I fill out the CLIA waiver form? And, that's one of the things that we've walked our members through is we have the on-demand course so they can listen to Dr. Talent, like walk them through there. But that's always the first question is how do I do that? And that's something that you guys actually offer help with as well, which is not something that many suppliers help with. So kind of give that perspective of your experience.
Yeah, so actually that's a very common question. The CMS form 116, which if your pharmacy is not familiar with that CLIA waiver form, you can literally Google CMS form 116 and that will give you that form that you need to fill out to get a CLIA waiver. The most common question I get is, what are the products that I should be putting on this form as far as the services that I'm going to be offering at the pharmacy? And my answer to that is put as many as you think as you're going to offer so you don't have to revisit that form again. And it's really just comes down to how are you collecting the sample? What's the method to collect the sample? The name and the manufacturer of the test, and then the processing that you're using. And typically that's all found on the package insert. And so if you check us out on dbdiagnostics.com, all of our CLIA Wave products have a package insert listed under the product. And all that information is found right there. So I would just fill out line by line what tests you plan on offering, whether it be flu, cholesterol, or COVID flu combo, and add those on there. Typically, you don't need to renew that CLIA waiver for about 2 years. So once you list those products, you're typically good for about 2 years before you need to do it again.
Yeah, that's what I say. I say put every test that you ever think you might ever want to test for, like include HIV, include all kinds of things. That way you don't have to redo it, because you might find yourself getting a request for something and you're like, oh, it's not on my waiver, which it's not hard to refill it out, but it's just something that you don't need to deal with. So put as many on there. The distinction I like to say is these aren't tests you're actually, like for sure 100% will be doing. It's just things that you will be legally allowed to do because they are listed on your CLIA waiver. So if you never test for those things, that's a-okay. No, you're not at fault. But if you test for something not on your waiver, you can get in trouble. So we're going to switch over into those exact products. Now, while I say you might want to put 100 on your CLIA waiver, you don't want to launch a point of care testing revenue stream from just saying, hey, we offer everything. You want to be very narrow and very focused. And so right now is that we're coming into flu season. We're coming into some certain seasons. And I think pharmacy owners need to be focusing on what I call the infectious disease tests. And those are the common things that happen in the fall, winter, and early spring. So we're talking flu, we're talking COVID, RSV, and strep. Now, granted, some of those things can happen in other times of the year, but I think those 4 core tests are what really pharmacies need to be focused on right now. Like if you're trying to launch, you're trying to grow, you're trying to get people into your pharmacy, those 4 tests are what I think we need to focus on. So what solutions do you offer kind of in that circle that you can help pharmacies with?
Yeah, that's you actually outlined all the tests that we carry in that aspect. So COVID flu combo, I actually have some products here in front of me. This is a really popular product for pharmacies. It's made by LifeSign. It's CLIA Wave, and it comes just like your standard antigen test kit comes. A lot of these CLIA Wave rapid products are exactly what you expect it to be. They're a cassette. They follow a similar fashion, just like an at-home COVID test does. You collect a sample via a nasopharyngeal anterior nasal collection, and you just swab the patient. You can even have the patient swab themselves, and you have a buffer or reagent, and you wait 15 minutes for that solution to move up that cassette, and it gives you a result. The combo test is really cool because you can see it has 3 results in one stick. So you actually get COVID, influenza A and B right in the same strip. So you get pretty much 3 tests in one with that combo test. But great to have, especially getting to respiratory season. Same with the strep test, similar fashion. This is another really popular product. It's the strep A flip test. Follows the same fashion. It's a cassette. The only difference with the strep test, obviously, is you're taking an oropharyngeal specimen collection. So you are swabbing the back of the throat versus the nose. That's the only one that doesn't come in a combo because you can't obviously get a strep result from the nose. That's a common question pharmacists ask us. They're just one test that does everything. And it really just comes down to how you're collecting that specimen. One thing I will say, especially going into respiratory season with these tests, one of the main things pharmacists always ask me is, my patients aren't looking for these tests, or maybe they can't afford these tests out of pocket. And my answer to that is it really all comes down to SEO. Because, there's a large population of people that are looking for these services. And if your pharmacy isn't advertising for them, then you're not capturing that market. So I would highly, highly recommend also doing the SEO for these products so it can drive results for your tests that you have in your pharmacy.
Now, Kevel, for you and me that are marketing nerds, SEO is like standard stuff, but I'm going to just review that for those that who are normal pharmacy owners who are like, I don't know what you just said. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, which basically means keyword search. So if I'm driving around in town, and I've completely done this, I'm mom, son says, I've got a really bad sore throat. I look in the throat. I think I might see some spots. So I type in strep test and my city name, and I wait to see what pops up. And that's essentially search engine optimization. Like, will your pharmacy pop up if a mom is doing that search in your town? And it doesn't have to be complicated. SEO, technical SEO can get very complicated very quick. It can be as easy as just having, hey, we test for these things in our pharmacy on your homepage, having it on your services page, making sure that your Google profile has that we do strep, we do flu, we do this, and here's the cities that we serve. It doesn't have to be complicated, and can actually, if you spend an hour just updating some key areas of your website, your Google profile, your Facebook profile, you can get pretty good at SEO, especially for local businesses. You're not trying to
Yeah,
compete against all 50 states. You're just
exactly.
trying to compete in your town. So I agree. I absolutely agree, because I'm
Yeah,
the mom that searches for Google. And if you don't pop up, then I don't know you exist. And I want
yeah,
to give you my money.
right. And I think that goes for really any service the pharmacy is providing, maybe not necessarily just point of care testing, but if you're doing compounding, if you're offering delivery services, these are all great things to do SEO for so that your pharmacy is ranking higher than the other companies that are offering those same services in your area.
Yeah, because a lot of what will come up is like the emergency rooms and urgent cares, because those are usually big corporations and they have all those words stuffed in there.
Yep.
And who, nobody's going to go to, well, I hope nobody goes to an emergency room wanting to get a test. But stranger things have happened. But then you're kind of left like, what do I do? And what I will say is, no matter what, I have seen pharmacies be successful with cash-based services, with cash-based point of care testing. Some of my really good friends have been serving really rural, poor areas of states that they're in, because people will pay for what they want, not necessarily what they need. And what they want is convenience and quick results. And then on the flip side of that, that's kind of the direct to consumer or direct to patient avenue. But there's also a whole other world that I think pharmacies need to be focusing on. That's direct to business, business to business. Employers, schools, they're willing to pay to get results for their employees. Can this employee come back to work? Is it just a cold or is it COVID? Like, that's a big question that people are going to be having, and they don't want to lose a workforce if it is just a cold. So it's like, hey, give them the combo test of COVID, flu A and flu B. And if it comes up negative, it's like, great, you just ruled out all the things that we're really
Right.
worried about. Now you can come, back to work. And so don't forget that there's always businesses in your city that are probably willing to pay, because they either have the business owners or they got employees that they want to have tested.
Yeah, that's something we've seen too in our communities, especially in Tennessee, is lots of restaurants and businesses that don't want loss of productivity are more than willing to use us as almost an account for their employees to come by whenever they need a service, and they have a card on file. And so there are very creative ways to get with businesses and restaurants, especially within your own shopping center or strip where your pharmacy may be located. I would start close to you and then expand out from there.
Yep, absolutely agree. And that is great advice. Yeah, we talked about actually in our membership on one of our calls about all the different ways to approach businesses and ways you can package different bundles or different pricing schemes to be more attractive to those people. Because if they're going to be funneling patients your way, you can afford to give them some discounts or some bulk purchases and those kinds of things. You can be really creative. It's not one size fits all. So I think that's absolutely critical. So if somebody's looking at and they're not really sure what to buy, and they go to your website, which is dbdiagnostics.com, and they feel a little overwhelmed, because
Yeah.
that's kind of like the last question is like, okay, you told me I need flu, strep, RSV, and COVID. Great. But now I go and there's all these options. What is like the next choice for them? How do they get in touch with you to like kind of maybe work through, do I need PCR? Do I need antigen? All those different kinds of decision trees that need to be happening.
Absolutely. They can always reach out directly to the phone number that's listed on our website or email orders@dbdiagnostics.com, and a representative would be happy to help them kind of work through those options and see what's the best fit for their pharmacy or for their program that they may have.
And then lastly, I can't let you go without talking about kind of your IT support. So kind of the last question
Yes.
of like the series of like the most common frequently asked questions I get from pharmacies is, great, I have my testing up, I have my CLIA waiver, I have my test kits. Now, how do I get patients to make appointments? And like, how do
Yes.
I get this on my website? And how do I integrate it all so that it's automated and I'm not taking phone calls? And so you have a really cool feature that you can help support pharmacies from the technology side. So can you talk just very briefly about that?
Yeah. So one of the things that we found out early on, especially when COVID testing was really ramping up, was the reporting side. When it comes to giving the patient the results, a lot of countries were having all of these different requirements with QR codes on the results. And so we developed a proprietary IT platform, essentially that's turnkey for pharmacies that can be embedded directly into their website, or be created as a different landing page. And it handles scheduling for the patients, reporting. So you literally only have to click positive or negative or input a result. And then the patients are able to log into the portal and retrieve that result. So it streamlines the entire process for the pharmacy and for the patient, with regard to confirmation emails. If they need to change their appointment time, it's all automated. So the pharmacy can just focus on workflow, focus on administering the tests, and keep things moving. Because as we know, that's the last thing we want to do is start doing manual papers or appointments or keeping track of a calendar. So that's really just kind of solves all of those pain points that we figured out early on and provides a great solution for the pharmacy.
Yep. So I love that. I love easy. It's like the
Yeah.
easy button for IT solutions for appointments. So now, your pharmacy, you look like a real bona fide clinic. You look professional. You look
Yes.
like you know what you're doing, which has a huge impact on building trust within your community. Now, I know there's lots of other questions that somebody watching might have, everything from like, how do I train employees? What other kinds of things do I need? And that's the kind of support that we provide inside our Pharmacy Badass University. We do have, like I said, a complete A to Z point of care test course that's on demand that any of your employees can watch. Once you are a member, Dr. Kristen Talent walks you all the way through that. And then you've also got great resources like Kevel over at DB Diagnostics to help you along the way. I am always available for a quick question, so you can always feel free to email or to chat me on any of the social media platforms. Sometimes just a quick question and a quick answer is all you need, so never hesitate to reach out. So I am just so looking forward to hearing about all the success stories that pharmacies have with point of care testing this year. I hope independent pharmacies rock it in all of their communities. And I just want to say thank you, Kevel, for, you're busy with your own pharmacy, but you saw a need and you kind of stepped up, and now you created this whole like universe where you really do help pharmacies from, start to finish to make sure that they can serve their community. So really quick, one more time,
Absolutely.
just your website and
Yeah.
make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa, for having us here too. You can reach us at orders@dbdiagnostics.com if you want to send us an email, or you could go directly to our website at www.db, that's D as in dog, B as in boy, diagnostics.com. And we'd be happy to help you with all of your point of care or laboratory supply needs.
All right, awesome. So if you have questions, you need help, or you want to share some success, please do. And we'll see you next time. So thanks, everyone.